Welcome to the NoCarbNick show. I'm your host Nick. Today I'll be showing you how to confit some chicken legs. Now confitting is just a classic French technique used to preserve meat. And right now I'm going to show you the first step, and we're going to be curing these legs for anywhere from 24 to 72 hours, and that's just going to help start the preservation process. So now for the curing process, we're going to take 2 chicken legs that we have left over from the video I made recently about breaking down a chicken. We have a 1/4 cup of salt, kosher, 1 teaspoon of allspice, and 2 teaspoons of black pepper, all whole, and 3 cloves of garlic minced, and of course you need rubber gloves and just a big Ziploc bag. So I'm going to be cracking the allspice and the pepper. All I need is 2 sheets of paper towel. I'm going to put it in the middle of this, spread it out a little bit, cover it with the other sheet. I'm going to take a medium-sized saute pan and just literally push down until you hear it crack. And you want to get all of them as best as you can. And you're not worried about getting it too fine. You just want to release those oils and the flavor. And just keep rolling at it. Find the best way that you can to do it. Pull it off. As you can see, you got most of them cracked very coarse, as best as possible. You're going to take this and put it into the mixture. So we have the black pepper, allspice. Take the salt, the garlic, put it all in the bowl. Now we just had allspice and pepper, but you can pretty much use any mixtures. Juniper is always really good. You can even chop up some fresh herbs and put it in there. Anything really, whatever flavor you like. So now we're just going to put the legs in the bag and take the whole mixture and just dump it in. You want to massage it, jumble it around. Now, what you're going to want to do is, we're going to end up leaving it in the fridge for about 24 hours, but like I said before, you can do it 24 to 72 hours. But you're going to want to make sure that you're constantly, every hour or so, you take it out and just agitate it. Once you have it sealed, shake it up. So it's definitely key to just not let it sit. Make sure you agitate it every hour. So I put it in the refrigerator and I'm going to let it sit for 24 hours. Of course, agitating it every hour or so. Now it is a lot of salt, but we're curing it. We're going to end up washing it off before we cook it. But all that's pretty much doing is it's going to help preserve it. It's going to draw out some of that moisture, which is also going to help give it some flavor. So it's been 24 hours sitting in the bag curing. Look at all that nice moisture it's drawn out. So what we're going to do now is we're going to take it over to the sink that we cleaned, and we're just going to get that excess spices off, because you don't want to really bite into that when it's cooked. So running under cold water. And because it's been sitting for 24 hours in those spices, it's infused into the chicken. But like I said before, you don't want to be biting into that. Once you're done rinsing it off, put it in the pot you're going to cook it in. Just repeat with the other leg. So once you got the legs in the pot, you're going to add the fat to it. Now generally when you confit something, it's to cook it in its own fat and preserve it in its own fat. But chicken fat is not normally readily available, so we're going to just substitute it for duck fat. And honestly, you can use olive oil if you want, but any sort of fat. So we just got rendered duck fat, which you can get from Whole Foods, where we got ours, or you can buy it online. So all you're going to do is pour it all in there. Scrape it all out of there. So it's fully covered. Now at this point you can put herbs and spices in it. I have a bay leaf sitting out, so I don't really have much else than that. Now we're going to take that, just wrap it in some tin foil. And I've already had the oven preheated and ready at 225. You can do as low as 180 if you want, but obviously the lower temp, the longer you're going to have to leave it in the oven. I have it at 225, and we're going to leave it in there, check it after about 3 hours, but it's probably going to take anywhere from 3 to 5 hours, depending on, always just check after a few hours. And that's it. We're going to check it in about 3 hours and see how it's coming along. So the chicken's been in for about 2.5 hours, and we don't have a digital temperature gauge on our oven, and it normally runs a little hot, so we're just going to check on it and make sure it's okay. So pull it out with some tongs. Put it on a plate. It's going to be very hot, so be careful. Best way to see is just grab it, and it should just pull away with a fork. So that chicken is done. And what we're going to do is we're just going to let it cool down in the fat, and by that time it should be even a little more tender. Once the chicken is fully cooled down, you can put it in a container and make sure you fully submerge it in the fat. It can hold in your refrigerator from anywhere to 3 or 4 weeks. All the tasks in cooking this are not very complicated, but you just need to have patience because it does take time. But it's definitely worth it. Thank you for joining me, and remember, no carb Nick.